Hello programmers! Today I'm going to talk a little bit about file input and output, and I have a simple example that opens a file with fopen, and my name of the file is output.txt, and I'm opening it with the mode W for writing. And this fopen command returns a pointer to the file that I've just opened. If it can open it correctly, that pointer will have a valid value. Otherwise, we'll be seeing null in that pointer. So hopefully we'll open it and we'll see a valid value that's not 0. And then how do you write to a file? Well, the easiest way to write to a file is the same way we've been using to write to the screen to standard output, and that is with, well, we use printf. If you just put an F at the beginning of that, fprintf, then you're writing to the file, and fprintf expects the first argument to that function to be a pointer to the file you're writing to. So we'll use the same variable that we just created. And next week's spring break for us, so I'm going to write, I can't wait for spring break, and let me tack on a new line character at the end there. And then it's a very good practice to always close your files, just pass in that file pointer. So I'm going to exit out of this and compile, and then run that. And it looks like nothing happened, but the reason it looks like nothing happened is that I was writing to a file instead of standard output, which is the screen. And I look, and there is a new file that was just created, and I can take a look at that file, output.txt, and it says, I can't wait for spring break. So everything's going well. There are actually a few other commands that we can use to write to files. So let me go ahead and jump back into an editor and write a little bit more to that file before I close the file. Another command I could use is fputc. That'll write a single character to the file. So if I want to write an H to the file, I can write that, and I have to pass in the file pointer, so let me make sure I get my variable name right, the one that matches the variable I used for fopen. And another command we could use, it's mostly the same as fputc, only behind the scenes the implementation is a little bit different, but there's also a putc for put the character into the file, and we can pass in what we want the character to be. Let me do an I, so I'm trying to spell hi here, character by character, and then I'm going to pass pointer in, and then we'll take a look at what the file looks like now. Let me exit again and compile again, run again, and again there's nothing printed to the screen. Everything's in that file output.txt, and you do see the word hi appended there. So you could also jump into, instead of just catting it, jump in with nano or Emacs or VI or something, and we can see that hi is at the bottom of that file. So that's writing to a file. What about, well, let me do one more writing command. So jump back in with nano. So we wrote a whole sentence, we wrote individual characters, and this will be an alternative to using fprintf to write a whole sentence. There's actually a command to write a whole string to a file. There's a couple of them. There's fputc and there's putc. So let me try fputc. So fputc, and this will write a whole string, an array of characters to a file. So I'm going to put C programming is fun, and I want to write that to that file pointer. And then I had mentioned there's also a putc, but that's to write to standard output, so that's going to appear on the screen. So let's also say C programming is very fun, just so we can tell which line of code's going to the screen, which one's going to the file. And this one doesn't take a file pointer because putc is going to be going to the screen instead of a file. Okay, so try that again. And I'm going to compile. I'm using the up arrow to get back my previous command. Oops, did I forget a semicolon somewhere? That does happen sometimes. Yep, I forgot a semicolon. compile, and it's getting a little crazy on the screen, so let me clean up there and run it, and I see that the command putc did print to the screen, C programming is very fun. And then if I take a look at my file, output.txt, after the word hi, where I was outputting individual characters, I have C programming is fun. So that's writing to a file. What about reading from that file? So I now know I have a file, output.txt, that I could read from. So let me go ahead and read from that file. So it's okay to use the same variable ptr, that file pointer, but I would need to open it for reading instead of writing. So I can use fopen again, output.txt, open that for reading, R for reading, and there's many different commands we can use to read from a file. I'm going to start with probably the most common one is fscanf, just like when we use scanf to read from the user typing at the keyboard or standard input. This time we're going to pass in a pointer as our first argument, and what do we want to read in? Well, the first thing that I have inside the file is the word I for I can't wait for spring break. That's a character, so let's go ahead and try to read in a character, and then you need a variable to store that into. Usually your convention is to put the variables at the top of the program, so I'm going to put that there, ampersand and C, and then let's print that to the screen, red, and then %C, just to see what we get. And oops, printf does not need the ampersand, just needs the name of the variable. And now we're done with that file, so we can close that file again. I'll compile and run, and I do see that when I read in from the file, I do see the word I. How else can we read in from that file? What if we want to read in that whole line? Well, there are some other options. I'm going to assume that that file is already set and I do not have to keep writing it, so just to make our program easier, let me get rid of that top part and we'll just work on reading right now. So how else can we read from the file? Well, I only read in a single character. What if I wanted to read that whole first line in? And there's definitely a way to do that. We would want to read in a string, and fgets would be the best way to do that. So if I've got an array of characters, I'll just say line, and we'll just say we know the line is less than 200 characters. We need some room for the null character at the end, so we've got room for 199 characters. And now instead of reading in a single character, I'm going to do fgets, and fgets takes the variable first that you want to read into, so that's line, and then it takes the maximum number of characters. So I'll put 200 because we've got room for 200, and fgets knows that you need to leave room for the null character at the end, and it'll add the null character for us. And then the file pointer will be the last thing that we're going to pass into this function, and now I want to print out the variable line, that's our array of characters, and we'll see if we can read in that whole first line. Oh, what did I do wrong? Let's see. Pointer is undeclared. Oh, in my effort to make this easier to read, I accidentally deleted our file pointer. We do still need to create a variable to point to that file, and it's okay if I've got an unused variable now, but we go ahead and run that, and we see I can't wait for spring break. Cool. Let me just double check that file. It does have some more things in it. If I wanted to show you a few more commands for reading from a file, what about getting a single character at a time, just like we wrote single characters to the file? Let's go ahead and read those back in. So again, before I close this, let me go ahead and try a command to read in a character from a file. And there are a couple different commands we can use. One is getc for getting a character, and here we're going to store the result in our character variable c, and I'll say getc, short for get a character, and then pass in our file pointer, And then I definitely want to print out to the screen that I read whatever that character is, which would be the next character in the file, the H for high. And we've got another way we can do it. There's always more than one way to do things. So we did getc. There is also a fgetc. So that'll be fgetc. And again, the implementation of this, it may be a little different, but for our purposes, they're 99% the same. They're just going to read in a character from the file. All right, so reading in the next two characters from the file before I close it. It's getting a little crazy on the screen. Let me clear and compile again. And I run it, and I do see I read in the H and the I from that file. Okay, that's enough for about file I/O. More soon.